Welcome in, everybody. This is your guy, Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. We are also streaming on Dynasty Overload, a fantasy podcast. Check out our YouTube channel on Dynasty Overload as well. Now, this is an official episode for Dynasty Overload. I don't know what episode number this is, but we're going to be talking all things week 2. We're going to preview. We're going to talk about the post game, the Lions um, versus who? The Lions? No, I'm saying Lions. I mean Eagles. When I think of DeAndre Swift, I just think Lions. I'm sorry. It was the Eagles versus Minnesota. What a game! It wasn't really a close game, but for fantasy, it was an amazing game for fantasy. So we're going to discuss that as well. So let's go ahead and start with some news. There's tons of guys that are still out right now, and we're going to dissect every single one of them. I would say the biggest guy that is out right now is Austin Eckler. He's doubtful. You know, he had his agent's funeral that he went to yesterday, and then today he still wasn't practicing, dealing with some injuries, and then today he didn't practice. So they're saying that Austin Eckler could very well be doubtful. We're going to talk about what to do if Austin Eckler is, in fact, not playing. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans do have a really good run defense, so it really didn't even matter, whether Eckler was playing or not, in that aspect that, hey, he had to fight for everything, meaning that these guys are pretty stout. Outside of Austin Eckler being like the biggest guy to potentially miss a game, Jacoby Myers as well. And that's a guy that had a great game last week. He's a top 12 wide receiver so far this year in a small sample size. So, yeah, Jacoby Myers being out, that's, you might want to go pick up Hunter Renfrow. It's a potential dart throw at him being a guy that could potentially, get some yards and also get some targets. So targets is king when it comes to wide receivers. The more targets you get, the more points you can potentially have. Now, C.J. Stroud has popped up on the injury report. They said that he's iffy heading into week 2 with a shoulder issue, but I think he plays. Right now, C.J. Stroud is listed as questionable. He's too young to be questionable. I think he's going to play. And either way it goes, I have the Colts defense streaming in every league that allows DST play. So I do like the Colts defense a lot this week versus C.J. Stroud. So you got to watch this situation. And then Davis Mills could be under center. It could be either Davis Mills or Case Keenum. I honestly think they go with Davis Mills if C.J. Stroud can go. And you guys have to look at the time. The kickoff is 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 noon Central. So monitor this situation. I honestly think that he plays. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the significance of the injury, but at the end of the day, I just think he's too young to miss this game. So I think he plays. Aaron Rodgers had his surgery. He's aiming to return in 2004. And from what he said on the Pat McAfee show, he seems like somebody who's still very interested in playing football. So right now, you can possibly buy Aaron Rodgers in Dynasty for a third for a team that's desperate. But if you have an Aaron Rodgers, it's a hold. He's not a sell. He's definitely a hold. So with that being said, I don't know. Is my background messing up? I don't know. But either way, we continue to move. What a magnificent game the game yesterday was. I can't wait to dive into that game. But let's keep on going with some more news. So obviously we know that Zach Moss, he's back, he's healthy, and he's heading into a starting role in week 2. They're playing the Houston Texans, which on paper right now, you can kind of run on these guys. So he's a guy that could potentially get you about 15 to 20 carries, 80 to about 90 yards, and a score if you're lucky. So he's a guy that I'm interested in playing this week, but can a running back coexist with Anthony Richardson? We don't know. It's still a young season. We don't know if Anthony Richardson actually helps the running back or he hurts the running back, because Anthony Richardson, just like Jalen Hurts, is a goal line back. So he's going to get a lot of goal line carries and a lot of goal line scores. So with that being said, I am in on Zach Moss this week, and I am out on Deion Jackson. Deion Jackson is possibly going to be losing work. He's possibly going to be the third down back on this team, and Zach Moss could be getting the first and second down carries, as well as occasional third down snaps as well. Now, Devon Chain is ready to make his NFL debut. He was dealing with injuries last week. Raheem Mostert avoids missing the game. So Raheem Mostert is going to play, but then you got Selvon Ahmed. So it's just a lot of stuff going on. And right now, currently, Devon Chain is the number 3 back on the roster. So let's see how that progresses. But he's a guy that I'm stashing on my bench, a guy that I'm excited about. He offers some skill set that benefits PPR fantasy. So, and especially in that Dolphins offense that is explosive, he has some speed. He doesn't have no power, but he definitely has speed. He's a guy that you want to have in your lineup. Now, speaking of Austin Eckler missing the game, if you are in desperate need for a running back, you want to rock with Joshua Kelly. He looks primed for a lead role in week 2, especially if Austin Eckler doesn't play. All the reports right now are saying Austin Eckler is doubtful. I'm going to believe them and say that, hey, Austin Eckler isn't playing. This also now opens up room for Elijah Dotson to do something. He's a guy that you want to go ahead and just snag. If you're in a deep league, snag you some Elijah Dotson. He's all over my taxi. And Isaiah Spiller is somebody that I'm just done with. But Isaiah Spiller should be able to get some burn as a number 3 back if Eckler is out. So I'm out on Isaiah Spiller. I am in on Elijah Dotson, and I'm double in on Joshua Kelly. And that's just only if I desperately need a RB to start. And I'm going to have Joshua Kelly going in some leagues because obviously I went with the 0 RB rule in several drafts. So now I'm just snagging all of these different handcuffs. That's kind of where I make my money, is getting these stud wide receivers, getting a really good tight end, getting my solid QBs, and then worrying about the RB position last. And when you do that, you get all these different guys like a Joshua Kelly and a Chain, some of these rookies, some of these guys that are not really established. And when they hit, you have a great potential of winning your league, just because as these guys that drafted the Ecklers and the CMCs and some of these other powerful backs at high prices, when those guys start to fall off, guess what happens? You now have, guys like Joshua Kelly that you can stick in there, or some of these other lesser backs that I actually hit and become league winners. So that's what I'm always looking at, value. James Conner is cleared to play versus the Giants. I don't know if he gets more work or if, I don't know. With James Conner against Washington, he didn't do much. Against the Giants, he possibly could. I mean, Pollard went off versus the Giants, but Pollard is Pollard. But then again, in the same right, James Conner is a really good back when he's ready to rock. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on with the injury report, Devontae Parker, we're still waiting for him to do his thing. He is questionable for a Sunday night game. And then because it's a Sunday night game, if you have a Devontae Parker and you are relying on him in your lineup, maybe you're in a deep league and you don't have a lot of good wide receivers. But let's say you are a Cooper Kupp owner, a Jacoby Myers owner, and you lost both of those guys, and you have to play a Devontae Parker. Make sure you have a Kayshon Boutte as a guy that you can stick into the lineup if Devontae Parker misses the game. I'm just throwing out, little cheap options if that's your only option. Hey, Jerry Jeudy, no restriction. They're saying that he's fully healthy, but unfortunately for him, he's going against a Commanders defense that played well in the passing game versus Joshua Dobbs. Now, Russell Wilson and Joshua Dobbs, 2 different spectrums. Joshua Dobbs is he's a way better talent, right? So when I look at this, I look at Jerry Jeudy as a guy who could have potential in his offense. Russell Wilson is going to look his way. That's his favorite target, and they had that report towards the end of the last season. So if Jerry Jeudy is available, you might want to stick him in your lineup, and don't let what happened to people who didn't believe in DeAndre Swift. Look at what happened. DeAndre Swift got all the carries. We're going to talk more about that, but he did his thing. So if you have a Jerry Jeudy, and if you can start a Jerry Jeudy, take a chance on him. I'm not going to start Jerry Jeudy in every league. I'm only going to start Jerry Jeudy in the leagues that I don't have options in. John Mechie, he looks ready to make his pro debut, and he could be a sneaky wide receiver in terms of taking the reins as the number 1 wide receiver for Houston. Obviously, you have Nico Collins, right? Obviously, you have what's his name? Robert Woods, who commanded like a lot of targets last week. I can't remember what the total number was on targets, but Robert Woods got a lot of targets. You got Nico, you got Tangdale, who they're saying is going to play more because Noah Brown is out. So all that being said, let's go ahead and shift gears to DeAndre Hopkins. He gets a questionable tag for week 2, but I believe he plays. I believe Treylon Burks is also healthy. But if DeAndre Hopkins happens to miss this game, which I don't know if he misses this game, but if he happens to miss this game, then you can look at Treylon Burks and start Treylon Burks with confidence, because at the end of the day, somebody has to get these targets. So you look at guys like Treylon Burks, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chig, Okonkwo. If I had to choose between these three, who would have more impact or the most impact? Obviously, it's Treylon Burks. But between Nick Westbrook-Akina, who had a decent game last week, and Chig, give me Nick. Until Chig shows me some consistency, I know the season is still young. It's hard for me to trust a Tig. What's good, Tyler? Appreciate you hopping on the stream, man. Please like, please subscribe, and please share if you haven't already. Tyler writes, should I trade Tyreek Hill and Aaron Jones for Stephon Diggs and Josh Jacobs? I have Josh Allen as well, full PPR. So I hear you. I see what you're trying to do, but Tyreek Hill definitely is better option for me than Stephon Diggs. I think that Tyreek Hill is going to have a great season this year. Tyreek Hill has a great chance to be the wide receiver 1 overall this year. Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs. Aaron Jones is possibly more productive right now. If this is redraft, give me the Tyreek Hill and Aaron Jones side. If this is Dynasty, then possibly I would take the Stephon Diggs and Josh Jacobs. Now, obviously, Stephon Diggs will have big games like he did last week, but Tyreek Hill is next level. But in terms of consistent targets, and they're even to me. They're even. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, both will have amazing, crazy good games. The difference is Josh Jacobs is better than Aaron Jones, right? But then we don't know what Josh Jacobs looks like in this new offense with having Jimmy G. Well, not new offense, but new quarterback. So if it's me, I'm keeping Tyreek Hill. I'm keeping Aaron Jones. All right. Let me get a drink, and I will continue with the show. Y'all give me a few minutes. All right. Says great. Tyler says great insight. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Hey, Tyler, be sure to also subscribe to our Dynasty YouTube channel, Dynasty Overload. We stream out that way as well. And we also have episodes on Apple. Look up Dynasty Overload podcast. Appreciate it. Man, that's some good watermelon juice right there. All right. Where was I? Let's go ahead and look at tight ends. Who's out, who's in. Greg Dulcich is officially out, and I hate what Sleeper does. If you guys play fantasy football on the Sleeper app, Sleeper is so annoying because somebody could be doubtful, and you can't put them into the IR position. So, with Greg Dulcich being out, opportunity for Adam Troutman. I talked about it on my Commanders pod, Talking Commanders with Manny. Pat Freiermuth has been upgraded to full practice today, which is good. He's leaning towards playing. You have Juwan Johnson. He returns to full practice. Also, who is the number 1 tight end for the Colts? Is it Ogletree? Is it we know that Jelani Woods is out for 4 games. Do they even have a tight end? I mean, when you have Michael Pittman, who's a big wide receiver, they necessarily are not looking for a tight end, right? Travis Kelce is questionable, but he's going to play. And I know a lot of you guys are excited, but guys, do me a favor. I want you guys to go into your lineups right now and make sure that Travis Kelce is not in your IR or bench. Put Travis Kelce in your lineup. He will reward you heavily in week 2 with tons of catches, tons of yards, tons of touchdowns. Yes, I say tons of touchdowns, multiple. So I'm looking for Travis Kelce to get 2 touchdowns this week. Mark Andrews, he gets a questionable tag, but I think that Mark Andrews plays. I'm not a doctor, but I honestly think that he plays. Kickers, I'm not going to do kickers. Grab any kicker that's available. Kickers, man, you can use them, throw them away. Same thing with DSTs. But now we're going to get into the start and sits portion of our show. Then if we got time before that show ends, then we can go ahead and dive into game previews, the interesting games this week. So as far as quarterbacks, look at guys like Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff had a great game versus Kansas City. He just didn't get enough touchdowns. Had he gotten one more touchdown, you would have felt really good about starting Jared Goff. He got you 16.1 points, which isn't bad, but you wanted a little bit more. I think he's going to have a career year this year. He's only 28 years old, and he's only going to get better. He's going to get better. This offense is special. So there is potential that he can go off versus the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, old man Stafford shredded these guys, right, last week. So I honestly think that Jared Goff could do the same versus Seattle. I thought Seattle had a really good corners. I thought Seattle were an up-and-coming team, but obviously we all were wrong about Seattle. They're not who we thought they were. So Jared Goff is a good play. Tua Tagovailoa, man, he is magnificent. And he had 466 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. I believe he fumbled, so therefore his score was just a little bit lower than what we expected. 33.1 point, that's pretty solid. Anthony Richardson. It is time to start to put some respect on this guy's name. I know it's only been a game, but Anthony Richardson, with his rushing upside, he's going to offer something that most quarterbacks don't. Give me those 22 points out of Anthony Richardson every single week. He's going to give you the rushing upside, and if they get into the goal line situation, we all know he's the goal line back. This guy has the potential to get 15 rushing touchdowns this year, and it took me a while to kind of hop on that train, but to be honest, that is just good. I mean, he's going to be solid all year round. Daniel Jones had a bad game last week. He scored 4 points. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 whopping points. This guy was so bad. This guy was ultra trash, okay? When you look at the people coming to get your trash and you get that juice that's just dripping from your trash can, that's what Daniel Jones looked like. He was awful. He was awful. He was stinky. He was just, right? But luckily for you guys who drafted this guy as a QB1, because he was a QB1 last year, right? I try to warn you guys, but you guys were all in on Daniel Jones. And look, now we're here. Daniel Jones has the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm telling you guys, he has potential to get you 18 and 19 points. How do I know? Because Sam Howell got 18 and 19 points. Am I saying that Daniel Jones is Sam Howell? No. Am I saying he's better? Am I saying he's worse? No. What I'm saying is the Arizona Cardinals are terrible. So there is potential for upside there. Now, if anything, Daniel Jones did run for 43 yards. Even with the interceptions, he ran for 43 yards. So we know that the rushing upside is there, right? Obviously, Deshaun Watson is the guy that I'm looking at. He has to produce this week. He produced last week. I think he has a chance to do more. It's a divisional game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh looked terrible last week. They can look terrible again. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, he's still trying to get around, playing football again and not getting massages. But Deshaun Watson should come out here and produce versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there's potential for 200 to 300 yards passing. There's potential for at least 3 touchdowns. That potential is there. And then, of course, that rushing upside is always great. Sleepers, you got guys like Derek Carr, guys like Brock Purdy, guys like Baker Mayfield. Yes, I said Baker Mayfield. He's playing the Chicago defense. And right now, Chicago defense, they are 30th versus opponents, okay? So the potential is there when you have big-time playmakers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. This guy has the potential to get 2 to 3 scores. So that potential is going to be there. And then there's a potential that this could be a shootout. I also think that the Bears could potentially have a good game. And if that happens, you're talking about points, and some more points, right? Now, here's some guys that you might not want to start. Guys like Geno Smith. We don't know. Geno got paid and he forgot how to play football. Is that a guy you want to trust? Be my guest. If he ends up again getting 112 yards versus a terrible Rams defense last year, we don't know what he's going to do versus a really good Lions defense. So, I mean, that's up to you. I'm not starting Geno. Dak Prescott versus the Jets, I don't trust this matchup. He did nothing last week. That's just because the Giants were that bad. But when you need Dak versus the Jets have a really good defense. So I'm not going to trust Dak Prescott versus the Jets. That's just me personally. Now, there's all kinds of guys that you can play, all kinds, Trevor Lawrence is a great play this week. Let me see. Guys that I'm iffy about this week, I'm also iffy about Russell Wilson. He's playing against the Commanders. I think the Commanders are going to be lights out this week with Chase Young coming back. It's going to be, I know it. Denver's at home, and everybody wants to say, let's cook Russ this, Russ that. Russ could potentially struggle. But a lot of people picked Kirk Cousins to struggle versus the Philadelphia's magnificent defense, right? And he went off. All Kirk Cousins did was go off. So sometimes you got to trust your gut. That's the key when it comes to your starts and sits. But I've given you guys who I like. You guys do what you want to do. Okay? But don't say that I didn't warn you. I'm giving you free game. I'm not charging for this knowledge right now. So y'all better receive this knowledge. All right? Let's look at some running backs. Running backs that I would start this week. Guys like James Cook, right? He's playing versus the Vegas Raiders. The opportunity is there. Yes, he only had 10 fantasy points last week, but I like what I saw out of James Cook. When he did touch the ball, he looked good. He passed the eye test, right? A lot of guys like Rachaad White. For me, is a wait and see approach. The shares that I've had of Rachaad White, I've sold them off in Dynasty. I'm getting rid of them. Not that he's a bad player, but I don't know. There's something that's telling me that he could struggle. But then he's playing the Bears, so the Bears is a good matchup. So matchup-wise, yes, go Rachaad White. But my gut says, I don't know. It could be Sean Tucker. We don't know what we don't know. And I think that Tampa Bay is going to pass the ball more. Tampa Bay is going to potentially score more passing than they would running the ball. So with that being said, be careful with Rachaad White. Some of you guys can start him. The matchup says start him. I say don't start him. We'll come back next week and we'll see if Manny was right or if Manny was wrong. James Conner, matchup-wise, has a good matchup versus the Giants, but it's going to be a negative game script for the Arizona Cardinals. For those of you guys who drafted James Conner with the hopes that he can be a top 15, top 20 RB, not saying that he can't, but man, it got worse. That team got worse and worse and worse when they showed their hand and showed that they're not ready to win. They want to build. So, with that being said, I'm not sure about James Conner. That's another one that the matchup says play him. I'm not playing James Conner unless I have to. David Montgomery versus Seattle, sign me up. Whether it's David Montgomery, whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs, I think that both guys have success versus this low to the low Seattle Seahawks defense. Who else do I like? Now, Jamal Williams, I told you guys not to start him last week, and I'm glad you guys listened because last week he didn't do anything, right? He had, 45 yards rushing, 7 yards receiving, 7.2 fantasy points. Aren't you guys glad that you guys listened to me? Did you guys listen to me? I'm not saying that I always have it right, but when I do have it right, I am going to brag about it. When I get it wrong, trust me, I am my worst critic, so don't you worry about that. But Jamal Williams going against the Carolina defense, there's a potential that the Saints come out, hit these guys in the mouth, capture the lead, and just run the ball. Run the ball. And I don't think that Carolina is going to have anything for Jamal Williams. So this is a one game that I say, hey, start him. And in deeper leagues, watch out for Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller might just get some burn. And Kendre Miller just might get a sneaky touchdown, just like Roschon Johnson did last week, just like Tank Bigsby did last week as well. Let me see what other backs that I actually like this week. People are saying start Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. Breece Hall showed why he is a better running back than Dalvin Cook. Obviously, not just because of age. He just looks more explosive. If Brees Hall has 10 carries and Dalvin Cook has 10 carries. I can almost say that Brees Hall will have more yards because Brees Hall is more explosive. Brees Hall had 3 plays of over 20 yards last week, especially that 83-yard run. That was amazing. So, yeah, Brees Hall is one of those things where be careful because he will be on a snap count, but he is very explosive. I would say start Brees Hall if you need to. If you have better options, then by all means, do not start him. Now, let's keep on moving down my list. Who else? Miles Sanders is a sneaky play. Even though the Saints are going to have a good defense and it could be a negative game script for Miles Sanders, but I just see him getting a lot of work. And if they can get this guy some passes, man, it could bode well for him. But Chuba Hubbard didn't look good last week, so he is a threat to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is one of those players that you just have to temper your expectations. It could work. It might not work. So, yeah, that's that. People that you want to stay away from, you definitely want to sit Cam Akers. I think that Kyron Williams is the guy. Kyron Williams played 65% of the snaps last week. He had 15 carries. He was targeted 2 times, and then he had 2 goal line touchdowns. Sign me up for some Kyron Williams, man. I'm just saying, the numbers speak for itself. Now, even though the yards weren't there for Kyron Williams, the touchdowns and the snaps were. So, just like wide receivers, targets. On the flip side, it's just like, let these running backs get the snaps. Let's see who's getting the snaps, and let's see if they can maximize off the snap. So, I mean, you have to look at little things like that. Now, last week, Tajay Spears outsnapped Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry had more production. All that means is you have to look at Tajay Spears as a guy that could potentially start to earn a role in the offense. So you can look at that. I'm not starting Raheem Mostert or anybody in that offense running the ball wise for Miami because I don't trust that RB room. It's going to be all over the place until about week 4, week 5 when things are solidified. Pacheco could be a sneaky play versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, he did have 9.4 points last week, so there's no doubt in my mind that he can possibly do better this week. Samaje Perine is like a sleeper, a dart throw, because Javonte Williams, he's not healthy. He's going against a tough Commanders defense. Samaje Perine could be that receiving back, and he had 11.8 points last week. So I look at the receptions, and Samaje could possibly double this. I see Russell Wilson checking it down a lot. He's going to be under pressure. I see this defensive line going after Russell. So if they do, Samaje Perine could be a guy that gets about 5 to 7 targets. He's definitely going to have more than 4 receptions, in my opinion. Tyler Algier, man, is this going to be a thing? I don't know. We got Razman in the building. Razman, welcome to the show, brother.
What up?
How you doing, man?
And I'm doing good, bro. Been
so
super
I got a question
busy.
for you, man.
I wanted to do something for our loving fans. What's the question, bro?
So with Tyler Algier, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that what happened last week was a fluke?
Yes. No fluke. Tyler Algier is gonna have a role, and I don't think you can expect what he put out this past Sunday, but I think you can probably expect about half of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a good flex option. Anything happens to Bijan, then you got a RB1 on your hands.
Absolutely. And during the drafts, I was snagging Algier as a high-end handcuff because of who Bijan Robinson is, but also the kind of offense the ATL Falcons run. Okay. Now, question for you. Everybody's scared of the Drake London thing. Do not start Drake London. I'm not starting Drake London. Are you starting Drake London?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm starting Drake London. And my feeling to the game, because when I first saw the game, I was like, oh, no way. But my feelings changed after the game because you kind of see how the game flowed, right?
Uh-huh.
And sometimes because of how a game flows, and then another thing is Ritter is never going to be a volume passer.
Mm-hmm.
So if their game flow, if running the ball is working, they're going to continue to run the ball. But the thing is, teams aren't going to sit there and let them run to a win every week.
Right.
So they're going to have to get that all going. They're going to have to get throw those passes. And the reason I say yes to the Drake London and also to Kyle Pitts is because those were the only two guys that were still really going out for routes. And Hollins too. But because they're the ones going out for the routes, eventually those balls are going to connect, I believe. So yeah, I'm still starting Drake London unless you have another strong starting option. If you have a strong starting option, then yeah. If you are picking between him and a bench guy, keep starting London. I wouldn't start a Tutu Atwell over London. Let's say that comparison.
I am, to be honest.
I'm not.
Give me Tutu Atwell over London.
Tutu is a different case. If Puka doesn't start, then start Tutu over London.
Yeah,
game.
Man, I don't know, man. Like Drake London, I'm sorry. When I see something like a goose egg, even Dallas Goedert, I almost didn't want to start him, and I shouldn't have started him. When you give me a goose egg, my rule is you got to prove it to me. You ride the clown for a week.
Oh, but what did Swift have? Did Swift have just about a goose egg game before?
I don't know. Goose egg is a goose egg. Goose egg means 0.
Devonta Swift, or how do you say his name? That guy didn't do anything the game before. Absolutely nothing. I think he got no more than 1 or 2 points.
Okay. That's fair.
And then the next game he gets 26.
Yeah, but you got to look at the situations though. Like, I mean, no Gainwell. Boston Scott is the Oopa Loopa. I mean, what do you expect? He was bound to have a good game.
It was Boston Scott got injured in that game too.
Yeah, it's Boston Scott. Yeah. Like, even with a healthy Boston Scott, the dude is 5'4". He's not a threat. So, and then Rashad Penny, they're done with that guy. I have released Rashad Penny in every league that I can release him in. I'm done.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Penny was the guy next week. Now, listen, I don't believe in Penny. Out of all the running backs, he's the one I guess I believe. No, him and Boston Scott are the guys I believe in the least amount. Still, you know, if you're desperate at running back, yeah, grab you a Penny share because listen, it could be Penny the next week the way they're playing.
Right. Now let's talk about a topic that everybody has questions. Gus Edwards or Justice Hill?
You know what? Give me Justice Hill. I was just a Gus Edwards guy. I've been going back and forth. Right now I'm on Justice Hill only because the thing about Justice Hill is last year, every time they gave him an opportunity, he never did anything. If you go back and look at his box scores, the guy was getting 2 carries, 4 yards, 1 carry, 3 yards. You know, he wasn't doing very much. So there's not a lot to believe in. If you go off of history, I would say it's Gus Edwards. But from what we've seen lately, preseason and now, I would say, man, Justice Hill over Gus Edwards. Maybe Gus Edwards has lost a step at 28. I'm not sure. Remember, he also had the ACL, so maybe he's just not producing as well.
Justice Hill sucks. Give me Gus Edwards. Okay. All right, moving on. Najee Harris.
ACL Edwards.
Najee Harris, start or sit?
Start.
All right. I have him starting as well versus Cleveland. If you have a Najee Harris, you drafted him to start. So you got to start him until he just falls off. We talked about Cam Akers earlier. You weren't here. Cam Akers, start or sit?
You start him. Who they're playing? Who? 49ers? If they're playing the Niners, sit him.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, 49ers. Yeah, I was sitting him regardless.
Yeah, sit.
I'm on the Kyren Williams train. Talked about that earlier. Khalil Herbert versus Tampa Bay, start or sit?
Start.
I will go sit. If I have to start this guy, then my team sucks.
If you draft him as a starter, start him.
Look, I'm on the road.
It's just week 2. We haven't learned enough about what's happening to make the definitive things on the players just yet, right?
I feel you.
Because I think it's an extension of the offseason still.
Look, if you drafted Khalil Herbert to be your starter, then your team sucks, okay? And I feel sorry for you. But for me, I'm benching this guy. I just don't see it. It's just too much going on in that backfield. I love Khalil Herbert. I'm a Khalil Herbert fan, but it's too much going on. Like you got guys like Roshan out there. Foreman. You don't know. It's a three-headed monster, and then just the best running back pretends to be a quarterback.
Okay.
So that's my argument, man. It's just too much. If I'm in a super deep league where my team sucks, and I didn't draft well, I'm doing 0 RB. That's the only time I'm gonna have a Khalil Herbert playing.
I'm starting Khalil Herbert, and we're gonna see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm feeling really good if I have a Roshan Johnson.
There you go. I have Roshan in every single keeper in redraft league, just sitting on my bench to go ahead and grab the reins. Antonio Gibson. We're not gonna talk too much about him. He had this one reception for 10 yards, 9 yards running the ball in a fumble. I think he's done. I think he's done in DC. He should not even be on the list. But
the fumble thing, it wasn't very good. But the other guy, Robinson, he didn't have a very good game rushing, did he?
At all. But he had ball security. Okay. Gibson fumbled in scoring position.
I think it's going to come down to
Brian Robinson scored a touchdown. There's levels to this.
Yeah, I think, but if you put Gibson in on that play, I think he scores a touchdown as well.
I'm not saying that he does. I'm just stating the facts. The facts is one scored, one fumbled, and because of that, if you want to put your hopes in, he fumbled and he won't do it again. Good luck.
I think Gibson has to be used correctly, if he's not going to be used correctly, then get rid of him. I'm not sure why.
I'm giving you the inside scoop. For those of you guys that have Gibson on your team, get rid of him, or you stash him in case of a Brian Robinson injury. Yes, now there is nobody on Washington that does what Gibson can do, but you cannot trust this guy. And when he gets in the doghouse like this, it's gonna take weeks.
The problem is if Gibson isn't affecting the game with his rushing, then Gibson is gonna be way more versatile and somebody you could put on the field to threaten in different areas. And I don't feel like Washington has anybody else that can do that.
Curtis Samuel
at running back.
Look, the coach has gone Curtis Samuel in crucial plays. He's going to go Curtis Samuel once again. They want Gibson to be this special thing, and he just can't do it. He just can't do it. I just think he's going to be in the doghouse for a while. Just don't put your hopes and dreams in this guy. You will be hurt. It's happened to me several times. All right, moving on to some wide receivers. I love Zay Flowers every week. The guy had 10 targets, 9 receptions last week.
Yeah.
But Mike Williams versus Tennessee. Are you starting him or are you benching him?
Start Mike Williams. Tennessee's strong safety and number one cornerback aren't playing.
All right.
Start everybody against the Titans.
Exactly. Now, I talked about earlier, I'm not starting certain running backs versus the Tennessee's run defense. That's what you guys really do very, very well.
Right.
But in that same thing, with Eckler being out,
we can't cover. Is Eckler out?
He's doubtful.
Oh.
So he's doubtful. Are you starting Joshua Kelly or no?
Absolutely not.
Bingo. That was my sentiments as well. But if you are desperate, and
if you pick them up because you're desperate, then you start them.
Yeah. All right. Moving on along, Mike Evans start or sit versus the Bears.
Start.
All right. Start as well for me.
Start with confidence.
Yep. Christian Kirk start or sit versus the Chiefs. He was a dud last week. What you say?
I start him because I think they're gonna want to get him going.
I will start him because this has shootout written all over it. All right, moving on along. This wide receiver that I'm about to say next, he sucks. Gabe Davis. Are you starting or are you sitting Gabe Davis versus the Vegas Raiders?
Versus who?
Vegas.
Oh, start.
I am benching him all year round. I have no shares. I don't want that guy anywhere near any of my teams. Moving on along. Huh?
He's a start.
All right, good luck. Good luck to all of you guys that are putting your hopes and dreams in this guy. Couple sleepers that I like. I like Nico Collins a lot this week. Not only do I like Nico Collins, I like Robert Woods as well. I was looking at, I know it's a small sample size so far. I'm like, who is CJ Stroud going to throw to? This Nico Collins had 11 targets. He had 6 receptions for 80 yards. So volume is king. Anybody getting 10 or more targets, sign me up. Do you like Nico Collins this week versus the Indiana Colts?
Yeah, in that sense, but I don't like Nico Collins. I want to sell Nico Collins for all his potential to people like you.
Same here.
Okay.
I'm done with him. I've been selling that guy off for like.
I mean, but the targets are king. But I just think that they're gonna, and I think he's talented, but I don't think he's any more talented than a Gabe Davis.
Oof. Well, I see how you feel.
Yeah.
I see how you feel. That's fair. Romeo Doubs versus ATL. Start or sit?
Start.
Michael Thomas versus the Carolina Panthers. Start or sit?
That one's iffy because I think the Panthers have a decent defense, but I'm gonna start because Derek Carr likes to force feed his targets. He doesn't care. He will throw into coverage. Yes.
Josh Reynolds. Start or sit?
Sit. I don't trust him. Give me a break, sir.
Kadarius Toney. Start or sit?
Start. I'm starting Kadarius Toney. Starting Kadarius Toney.
What?
This is the last time I'm starting him.
I'm benching that bum, man. That bum is sitting on my bench until he shows me.
If he doesn't do it, it's over.
I need 3 weeks in a row. Even if he does it this week, I got to see it again and again. But anyways, Garrett Wilson versus Dallas. Yep. Garrett Wilson being thrown the ball by Zach Wilson. Are you starting Garrett Wilson versus Dallas defense at Dallas?
I'm starting, and if I'm in redraft, I'm trading right after. Reason being is because I believe that he's gonna try to be Aaron Rodgers and force that guy the ball. And I think the next week, listen, he's gonna get picked a couple of times. The next week, they're gonna tell him to stop doing that, and then Garrett Wilson might cool until they get somebody else there.
All right, because I asked about Garrett Wilson, not Zach Wilson, but got you.
Oh, you was asking about? Are we starting Zach Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We started. So it says start Garrett and then trade him if you're in redraft after this game. Because after this, I'm not so sure. Huh?
You trade him now after this game? Oh Lord, you're gonna.
And then they're gonna force the ball to him for now.
Ooh. Okay. George Pickens with no Deontay Johnson. Start or sit?
Start.
All right. Terry McLaurin this week versus Denver.
Start.
All right. Even though he had 4 targets for 2 receptions, 31 yards.
Yeah, they're gonna try to get him going.
Even though Logan Thomas had 8 targets and Dotson had 7 targets, and then Curtis Samuel had 5.
You saw what happened with Logan Thomas, right? They're gonna tell him stop throwing to Logan Thomas.
Yeah, but Sam Howell throws to the guy that's open. That's the thing.
I am starting Terry McLaurin.
Okay.
Give me scary Terry.
I am starting him in half, and I'm benching him in the other half. I trust Jahan Dotson now more than I trust Terry. So Terry's only starting for me if I need him this week. And if Terry's going against Patrick Surtain, that's something else. But anyways, Puka Nuka, the hottest wide receiver in fantasy football right now. Are you starting him or are you benching him?
I don't think he's playing. And I wouldn't start him because if he does play, I don't think he's going to be healthy.
Hey, what's good? What's good? Tequila Wolf. Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. So, Razman, Tequila Wolf is asking us, what is y'all's game of the week? What's your game of the week?
What's the one we're most excited about, or the one I think is going to be the shootout? It's probably going to be that Jags game because I want to see them. I want to see them go down. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to be that. I'll be rooting against them.
I feel you. I also like the Chiefs, and any game that's exciting in terms of points. Those are the games that I'm most excited about. So I like the Chiefs game, and I like the Miami game as well. Who's Miami playing this week? I can't find who they're playing, but I'm very interested in that game. So yeah, those are two games that I'm looking at this week. The Miami game. Let me see who Miami
It's
plays.
gonna be Miami, New England. But
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna bet on New England in that game.
Hey, Mac Jones is here.
Yeah,
Mac
I'm
Jones
betting on New England.
Here. He's here. Mac Jones has arrived, and I'm telling you guys, under Bill O'Brien, Mac Jones, it will not be a fluke. You're gonna see Mac Jones. I'm not saying they're gonna win anything. Matter of fact, they might be losing this game.
I'm gonna bet my whole FanDuel account on New England. So
I think it's a good one. I definitely think it's a good one. Okay, let's talk about we talked about Nuka Puka. I'm not starting him. Yeah, I am starting him actually. I just like the targets thing. The targets is king. I don't think he gets the kind of game he got last week, but I do think he's gonna get the targets. Like this guy was force feeding them targets, man. 15 targets is 15 targets. Are you starting Puka Nuka or no?
Like I said, no, because I think he's hurt.
Okay.
So if he does play, he's hurt, but I'm preparing for him not to even play.
All right. So Razman got to go. Appreciate you for hopping on, Razman. It's been great show. I got like a few more minutes, like 4 more minutes, and then I'll go ahead and end the stream. So moving on along, we got the tight ends and tons of pretty good tight ends out here. You have Evan Ingram, solid option. He caught 5 for 49 last week. He could score this week. Sam Laporta, he looked great, 5 for 39. He could score this week. Cole Kmet is another one, 5 for 44. You want to grab these tight ends that are getting 5 to 7 targets, about 5 receptions. 5 receptions means most times over 40-something yards. So that just bodes well. When are guys like Jake Ferguson and Kincaid and Musgrave, when are they going to step up? I think these guys are going to take another step this week. These 3 nice young tight ends, you can take a stab at those guys. Guys like Everett, I don't really too much trust them. There's too much going on in LA with the Chargers. Dalton Schultz really let me down. He let me down last week, so I can't trust him again this week. Let me see if I have any other tight ends on my list to put in my lineups, potentially. Dallas Goedert, he let me down, but he played okay last night, okay? Hunter Henry is sneaky. He looked good last week. He caught 5 receptions for 56 yards and a score. It seems like Mac Jones loves Hunter Henry more than he loves Mike Gesicki. So that's something that you want to watch. That's something that's real sneaky, moving forward. So monitor that. Hayden Hurst, another sneaky guy that could possibly do something. If you're real desperate, look at guys like Chig and Irv Smith, but these are guys that I'm not really so excited about. But I think that a tight end that nobody's talking about is going to come in, step up, and play well. Before I leave, I want to talk about the Jets. And why do I keep saying – okay, I want to talk about the Eagles and want to talk about Minnesota. Kirk Cousins looked great yesterday from a fantasy aspect. 4 touchdowns, over 350 yards passing. I'm going to take that every single day of the week. Even with the interceptions, give me the 4 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins looked amazing. That's 1. Jordan Addison is him. Another week, another score. Jordan Addison is the real deal. 3, Justin Jefferson looked great. He still looks very elite. He looks like a guy that could lead the league in receptions. I don't know about yards, but definitely in receptions. Justin Jefferson looked great. Now, Alexander Madison, he sucks. He sucks. Get rid of him. Get him off your teams. Madison is terrible. It could be the Ty Chandler show coming real soon. Minnesota's defense is terrible. That's a fact. So start anybody against the Minnesota Vikings defense, both passing-wise and both running-wise. Jalen Hurts shredded these guys. DeAndre Swift had 175 yards rushing. Crazy crazy. All right, man. We got Trey in the building. Trey, what's good? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Trey is asking full PPR. Choose two: Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman, Elijah Moore, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, James Cook. You know who I would go with? I would still go with Garrett Wilson. I get it. It's Zach Wilson throwing to him. We talked about it early on in the show. Give me Garrett Wilson and give me Michael Pittman. Those are the two that I trust the most. I am out on Rashad White this week. Elijah Moore is a wild card. Javonte Williams, I'm out on. James Cook, I'm in on. But between James Cook, Garrett Wilson, and Pittman, give me the PPR guys in Garrett Wilson and Michael Pittman. I learned my lesson. I did not start Michael Pittman last week because he had a quarterback that I was unsure of, and they connected in a big way. So with that being said, we don't know what Zach Wilson is going to do. Even with a bad Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson got a lucky touchdown. So definitely go with those two guys. Now, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, back to that Eagles game. DeAndre Swift went off. They used him. It took for Kenneth Gainwell to be out. It took for Boston Scott to be concussed, for DeAndre Swift to have an amazing game, a career-high game. He looked good. That could be a sign of things to come. But then again, it's 4 backs in that backfield. Choose wisely, monitor the situation. But if Swift is getting this kind of volume, Swift could look good every single week. And it just so happens that the Minnesota defense sucks. But Devontae Smith looks great. Give me Devontae Smith over A.J. Brown in Dynasty. And I say that with all sincerity. Devontae Smith is him. He runs every single route. He gives you a different element from what A.J. Brown would give you. But A.J. Brown is a dog. But just know that it's going to be hard for both guys to go off the same week. That's the disadvantage of having 2 wide receiver ones on the same team with the Jalen Hurts that does some different little things. So with that being said, it's been a great show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Dynasty Overload, a fantasy podcast. Please like, please subscribe, please share. Also, check out the Dynasty Overload YouTube channel. Check us out on Apple, Dynasty Overload. We're going to catch you guys on that next episode. We out. Peace.